There we go. Welcome to Risk Management 2020. As David mentioned, it is a little unusual for us to be doing it in this format, but gosh, what a great turnout, and it's nice to see everybody this morning, and it's a great place to be on this cold, kind of dreary morning. We have a special guest with us this morning. She's going to spend about the first hour talking to us about realtor safety, which is a huge, very, very important thing right now and really ties directly into risk management. And then we'll spend about a half an hour together talking about fair housing and talking about some things and some big hot buttons right now in regards to fair housing and some ways that things you need to be aware of to make sure that we're keeping you out of trouble and mitigating your risk. So without further ado, Tracy, if you want to unmute and take it over, I will be monitoring chat for Tracy and sit back, relax, and enjoy Tracy.
Okay, I have unmuted and I am putting my screen up, and I'd like you to tell me if you can see my screen.
I can see it perfect.
Wonderful. Okay, good morning, everybody. It's so odd to look out of my window and see snow. Oh, but it is what it is. This has been a great year. Let me first introduce myself. And a lot of you may know my sister. You're not seeing double, and it's not Stacy. I happen to have a twin sister, Stacy Johnson Cosby. Stacy and I started in real estate, I want to say 33, 34 years ago. And she's still an agent, as you know, but I decided that I wanted to do something else. And that something else involved teaching people how to live and how to work safely. I've been doing this for 25 years, and I do it across the country. And I love when I get an opportunity to talk to the agents in my hometown. I am also a contributing writer for the National Association of Realtors. I like to think that over the years you have read my articles, at least one or two here or there. I also get to write for the National Association of Residential Property Managers, and I'm often interviewed by Inman. One of the writers said, "You're our go-to safety expert." So wonderful to be able to be here today. And you can see on the screen that I've been able to share my real estate safety expertise on the Today Show, the Boston Globe, Washington Post. So I make it a point to know what I'm talking about. Real estate safety is my passion. So the question is, let's move the screen. So why am I here today? Now, the National Association of Realtors has mandated that associations and boards must have safety training every year. One of the reasons that I am excited to be here is that you all are not an association or board, and yet here I am. I admire when companies want to provide safety training for their agents in a proactive manner. They don't wait until something awful has happened. They're thinking ahead. And as a matter of fact, we've been planning this program since earlier this year. So I'm even more impressed that you all stuck with it. And again, here I am. I had to find a way to reach real estate agents and let them know what's going on, the crimes against agents, resources, information, safety information. So I started a Facebook group, and that's where I talk about all things real estate agent safety. And I'll give you this again so that you can find it. I had an education director tell me a few years ago, she said, "Tracy, it would be great to have you come in and talk about safety. It's a necessary topic. However, I can't afford to invest in you." She said, "If you're not teaching real estate agents how to make more money, they will not show up for training." Is that true? So I had to put on my thinking cap. It's like, how do I make safety more profitable for real estate agents? I created the country's only real estate safety designation, the Consumer Safety and Security Specialist, and over 600 agents have earned the designation. And the whole premise of the designation is I teach you how to make more money by being a safe agent and protecting the consumer. I don't have the 2-3-hour classes. I don't have 6 hours with you today, but I have 60 minutes. And my goal is to put as much of that information in our presentation today without talking too fast. And in case you haven't noticed, I talk fast. And if I talk too fast, Kristen will slow me down. But I often think that I have a lot of information and I want to get it all in. And as we go along, I'm going to ask questions. So I need you to be attentive. So no napping today. I'm going to ask you to put your questions in the chat section or answer to the question that I ask in the chat section. And Christian will let me know when we have questions there. But I need your participation to make this interesting and keep it engaging. First question, who can tell me a risk involved in the jobs that you do? In the chat section, type a risk involved with being a real estate agent. Think about your job description, think about your duties on a daily basis, and then type in a risk. And Kristen, when you see a risk, when there's a comment or so there.
We've got some that are popping up, and Ann Imes and Erica both said the same thing, meeting strangers.
Okay.
We've got showing alone, open houses, legal liabilities, another being alone at an open house, alone at new construction, meeting a stranger in a vacant home, wire fraud, showing vacant homes, showing property with no lights or power, car accident, trip hazards around properties.
Oh, and some things that I don't usually hear. Excellent. Wow.
We've got good creative agents for you.
And I like it. And you all are here, and I'm not like pulling teeth. People are involved. I love it. Okay, excellent, excellent points. Your job description reads that you make a living meeting complete strangers in empty houses. You make a living sitting in empty houses, waiting for strangers to walk in. How does that sound? My job is to help you remove some of those dangers and some of those risks. Because if you hear that description, you think, who does that? Real estate agents do it. How many of you all know that the U.S. Department of Labor considers real estate sales and leasing a high-risk, hazardous occupation? So many times real estate agents have no clue, but if you think about the nature of your jobs, they put your job right up there with a convenience store clerk, with a law enforcement official, taxi or Uber driver. My job is to help you remove some of those risks. I'm not here to scare you, but simply to help you remove those risks, do your jobs in a safe manner, protect the consumer, and make it home every night. Here's a quick yes, no. How many of you all are familiar with the Beverly Carter story? Just in the chat, give me a yes or a no. I just need to know how many of you all know who she is and knows her story.
Lots of yeses coming through, Tracy. Perfect. A couple of no's, but majority here are yeses.
And I'm not surprised. You all seem very in tune with what's going on with real estate safety. Let me tell you briefly who Beverly Carter was. Beverly Carter was a real estate agent in Arkansas. She got a phone call one day from a buyer. She had never met him. He said, I'm a cash buyer. And you all know what agents do when you hear cash buyer, right? You jump up. She made the appointment. But then she had second thoughts. And I know that because one of my articles for Realtor magazine, I got to interview her office mate. Her office mate said that she started thinking she had a funny feeling about it. So she decided to call him back. She said, look, I'm just not comfortable meeting you alone. He said, oh, don't worry, my wife is coming. And I think he even put her on the phone. So Beverly talked to the wife and she felt better about it. She went to the property and when she got there, the wife wasn't there. So what he said is, oh, she had to work today, but go ahead and call her on FaceTime and she can walk through the house with us. And that image, that was the last call made on her phone. And bottom line is they kidnapped her and they murdered her. She was murdered in September, which is safety month of 2014. As a result, her family sued the real estate company that hired her. They said that they were negligent. Had they provided some kind of safety training, any kind of safety training, expert-led safety training, they believed that she would be here today. And the lawsuit ended up getting dismissed because of the statute of limitations. We don't know how it would have ended, but that caused me to put on my thinking cap is like, and I heard someone say liability, which was very sharp. Another story about a real estate company being sued is an agent took a listing, forgot to tell the photographer that the seller may be home, forgot to tell the seller that the photographer was coming. So the photographer entered the property and the seller was there and she heard someone and she thought someone was breaking in. And she went to her bedroom and he's walking around. He doesn't know she's home. She grabs her gun, closes her door. And meanwhile, he's still walking around. She starts shooting through the wall. A couple of shots hit him. He didn't die. Guess what he did? Sued the agent, sued the company. So liability is a big deal. So what I always say is a company should have expert-led safety training, someone who will stand up on a witness stand. If something happened to one of your agents and then someone, a lawyer said, what did you do to help keep your agent safe? you can say I had expert safety training. So your company can check that box off now, because I can stand up on a stand and my background allows me to. And it also allowed me to create a class, a broker manager owner workshop that teaches the leadership how to not get sued successfully. So that's a whole nother class, a certification workshop. And I've had over 150 leadership members, companies participate in that. And that also forced me to write a handbook that talked about policies and procedures for real estate offices, everything from protecting the four walls, the equipment inside, the people, not just the agents, procedures, what to do in emergency situations, everything. So I have had to be creative and think on my feet. So since the Beverly Carter story, a lot of times agents, you've gotten complacent. You think nothing's really happened. And that's not true. What I wanted to do is to touch base on lessons learned, crimes against agents that have happened since Beverly Carter. And I can't talk about them all, but just the general idea. The most recent one happened, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was a property management team. It was a service manager and a property manager who went to evict a tenant. The tenant stabbed and killed the service manager and stabbed the property manager, not killing them, but causing serious injury. I know you all have probably heard the story over the summer in Virginia of the real estate agent who was in a property. A guy, I think it was an open house, and a guy came in with a wrench. He hit her 10 to 12 times, most of those in the head. Just so happens that she is a black belt and she was able to defend herself, still has a long road ahead to recover, but she survived. Another story happened again this summer. In Ohio, a real estate agent was standing in front of a listing. A van drove up with these two fellas inside and they asked for her business card. She reached to hand it to him. The driver grabbed it and tried to pull her inside. She was able to get away and get to the safety of her car and call for help. And you can see the mugshots, they were caught. The most recent real estate agent killed on the job is Monique Bow. Monique was in Minnesota, exact same story as Beverly Carter. She got a phone call, went to meet a complete stranger. She ended up getting kidnapped and killed. And this story is prevalent because as real estate agents, I did it. You all have done it. It's something that we all do. We need to remove that. And we're going to talk today about ways to prevent that from happening. Another agent killed while evicting tenants last January 2019. And that's an interesting topic because many real estate agents or housing providers, I know my sister is, and I imagine a lot of you all are, and there is an eviction moratorium. And it's going to have to come to an end one day. Evictions are probably the most dangerous part of your job. So you need to make sure that you know how to evict tenants in a safe manner and just the whole property management safety. And I'm actually doing a class on that next month, November 19th, and you can find that on my Facebook page, but that's going to be a very big deal. Here's another story about a California real estate agent, and I'm guaranteeing you probably saw the video on this one because it happened on video. The whole attack unfolded on video. She was in the open house and the guy made her uncomfortable. She said, "You've got to go." She walked outside where she knew there was a camera and he pushed her down and you can hear her screams. She survived. And as a result of that story, I wrote an article for Realtor Magazine about the 7 things that she did right to survive. And that's going to be one of those stories that you are going to need to review. More crimes against agents. This happened in Colorado last year. He pulled a pepper spray and a knife. She pulled a gun and she started shooting at him. He took off. He was later arrested. I got an opportunity to talk to agents in Houston about phone calls, threatening phone calls. And I know that that is an issue for real estate agents as well. Here is a question for you all. I need a physical description of someone you are afraid of. Type in the chat box. Give me nothing. I'm looking only for a simple adjective, a description of someone you do not want to see get out of the car for a showing, someone you do not want to see walk into an open house. Physical description, please. And Christian, let me know when you see some adjectives only start to come in.
Hat over the eyes, ball cap or a hat pulled over their eyes.
Okay.
Ski mask.
Oh my.
That's pretty descriptive.
Right.
Someone that's larger than she is.
Okay.
Someone that's unkept, large, unshaven, disheveled man, messy. One agent writes her ex-husband.
Oh no.
That's a good one. Agitated. Somebody wrote ordinary.
Okay.
Another one, nervous eyes. Long, unkept hair, wearing overalls. Anyone wearing dark glasses. Somebody that has an open carry. Somebody that presents themselves as too charming. Carol says,
Wow.
don't judge a book by its cover. Good advice.
Okay. So those are excellent. And a couple of them, I think someone, three, at least three of you all, we have ESP, and you'll see why I'm saying that. Very, very clever group. So my job is to tell you what a criminal looks like. And that includes don't judge a book by its cover. So thank you for jumping right in there saying that. Judging a book by its cover could cost you one of two things. It could cost you business, or it could cost you your life. Do not judge a book by its cover. So if you're one of those agents who think I can size anyone up, I can look them over and decide whether or not they mean me harm, let's play a game, shall we? Take a look at this fella here. Does anyone know who he is? Type it in the chat section. If anyone knows who this fella is, type it in the chat section. And let's say you have an upscale open house, or you are going to show an upscale house, and then this guy pulls up. If you judge this book by its cover, let's talk about what it would cost you. Christian, do people know who he is?
Several that have answered. Sam Walton.
Exactly. So, and usually he has an overall. So that's the second one who I said someone's reading my mind. He usually walked around town in his overall, drove around in his overalls. So if you judge this book by its cover, you think, oh, he cannot afford this house, you would be wrong, and it would cost you business. Okay, here's another one. Anyone know who this is? Type it in the chat. Who is this guy in this picture? And this is another one that if you judge this book by its cover, it could also cause a problem. Let me know when you see any names.
We got a lot coming in. Ted Bundy, overwhelming.
How do people know that? People know, and I guess it's seared on my brain from when,
we have a smart bunch.
Exactly. You really do. I'm not joking. You really do. So, and here's the third one where I said you're reading my mind. People described him as charming. I heard that. Good looking, clean cut. So if you judged this book by its cover, it could cost you your life. So I am telling you, don't judge a book by its cover. So you're saying, Tracy, how do we stay safe? How do we know who means us harm? Oprah used to have a guest on named Gavin DeBecker. He wrote a book called The Gift of Fear. Really quickly, type in the chat section, what is the fear signal? What is something that every single animal in nature is born with that would keep us safe and prevent us from ever being victimized? And Christian, let me know when you see something. Every animal possesses this, but we're all born with this. And if we listen to it, pay attention, it could keep us safe.
I've got instinct several times, wrong energy, gut feeling, hair on the back of the neck, fight or flight, sixth sense, instinct again, fear, gut, hair stands up on your neck.
Wow.
Got that several times from people.
I mean, and
fight or flight.
I am not joking. You guys are hitting like every single point. Instinct, intuition, sixth sense, flight or flight, gut, whatever you want to call it. Every animal in nature has it. Humans are the only ones who ignore it. And we ignore it because we want to be nice. We don't want to hurt someone's feelings, although our bodies are telling us you're in danger. If you don't hear anything else that I say today, hear this. Listen to your bodies. Trust your gut. It is hardly ever wrong. Get out of the situation. And if you need to make up a story or an excuse later, so it goes, but your bodies are hardly ever wrong. I tell a story and I tell this all the time that there are a couple of veteran agents, and actually an agent here in Kansas City told me this story about 20 or so years ago, and I'm sure at some point I'll run into them again. Two veteran agents, they've been in the business over 20 years. One was expecting to show at doctor houses in Mission Hills, and the other agent was on board duty. So she said, let me know when my client gets here. A guy walked in, doctor had a lab coat on, and she went back, she said, your client's here. She said, but I've got a bad feeling. How well do you know him? She said, I don't know him that well. She said, but I have a really bad feeling. Can you postpone this, check him out a little bit more, and then show him? She said, you're so silly. So she goes to show the doctor around Beverly Hills that afternoon. She gets back to the office that evening and she gets a phone call from the doctor. And she said, this phone call is not making sense. He said, what are you talking about? She said, you're talking as if we didn't spend the afternoon together. He said, what are you talking about? She said, I showed you houses all afternoon. You had your lab coat on, your name tag. He said, 2 weeks ago, someone broke into my office and stole my lab coat. It wasn't me. So she went to the other agent. She said, what did you see that I didn't see? And the other agent said, at the time, I couldn't tell. All I knew is my gut. My gut told me something was wrong. And I couldn't register what was going on. She said, but after you left and I had time, she said, it struck me. He had on a lab coat. How many of you all have been in a grocery store and seen a doctor walking around with a lab coat on? Doesn't happen. What about pumping gas at the gas pump? Doesn't happen. She said the other thing is when he put his hand on the counter to ask for you, his fingernails were absolutely filthy. How many of you all have ever seen a doctor with filthy fingernails? Doesn't really happen. The point of the story is if your gut tells you something, listen to it. Don't try to reason. Don't try to use logic. Just go with your gut and then get some distance and then come back again if you have to apologize or explain. So it goes, listen to your bodies. You need a safety plan, and you need a safety plan every time you work. And the one time you deviate from the plan, that's typically when something happens. So get a safety plan in place and let's talk about it. I get an opportunity to sit in on a lot of safety education, a lot of other people doing what I do or doing something similar to what I do. And I hear tips that I want to make sure that you are not doing. The first one is the red file. And there is a movement afoot that if you're in trouble, a way to have a distress signal is to use a code word. You can call someone and say, hey, get the red file, and then they'll know you're in danger and you've done it discreetly, and then help's on the way. Here's another story, and I talked to a lot of agents. There was an agent who met a new client, never met him before. She's going to show him 3 properties, and this actually happened here in Missouri years ago. She was going to show him 3 properties. At the first property, he raped her. He said, we're going to go to the next house and we're going to do it again. She said, wait a minute, I need to make a phone call. I need to call my office. So she calls her office. Someone answers the phone. She said, this is Susie, real estate agent. Hey, I need the red file. The person on the other end, they said, what are you talking about? She got in the car and went to the next property. Just so happens, coincidentally, another agent walked in to preview it. She took off, got to the safety of her car and left, leaving that agent with a rapist. Now, fortunately, nothing happened, but the moral of the story is if you have a distress signal, everybody needs to be on board. And I firmly say banish red files, yellow files, I don't care what color, no more files. Because I, again, speak across the country, everywhere I go, someone knows what that red file means. So if you know the criminal may know, it's going to make them angrier and escalate the attack. No more red files. Okay, coffee shop meetings. And nowadays, since a lot of you work in virtual offices and a lot of people don't go into the office, there are safety people saying, meet in a coffee shop. I'm going to tell you a better way to do that. And then there are those who say, no open houses, just don't do it. I know that's not realistic, so I'm going to tell you a workaround. Someone needs to know where you are at all times. And one of the benefits of being a real estate agent is you come and go as you please. There is no one to tell you where to go, where to be, but that can also be a detriment. Somebody needs to know where you are at all times. It could be another agent if your office is set up for it, a receptionist or someone, that's fine. It could be a spouse. It could be a friend. But someone needs to know where you are at all times. There is a section of the National Association of Realtors website, nar.realtor, where you can find those forms. There's an agent, an itinerary form, so you can list where you're going to be showing or staple a copy of the MLS printout to that form, a client information form. So when you interview your client, you can have that information there, and there's a section on there for you to put a copy of their ID. But a lot of times we've moved to a technology based way of doing business, and we'll talk about ways to do those in a technology way. But if you're still using paper, old school, I say, then this is where you find it. In my article that I wrote back a million years ago, there are links for every single one of those forms. So go to nar.realtor, search my name, find the article, and every form that I mentioned, you can click on the link. I'll make it easy in one place. One form that most companies have not discussed or completed is the agent information form. All of you need to complete an agent information form. And again, you can find it there. And that's a form that talks about if you have any health or medical issues. So let's say you pass out in the office this afternoon. Does your broker or manager know if you have any health issues, diabetes, any allergies, anything like that? If not, you need to complete the form. Well, everyone needs to complete the form, letting them know if there are any health issues, letting them know who your emergency contact is. It also is an opportunity to put the make and model of your vehicle on there. If something is, if you're missing and law enforcement officials ask your broker manager, what kind of car does your agent drive? They need to be able to give a description of the car, make, model, and the license plate number. So that form is here, and you need to update it every 6 months or so. But your broker manager needs to know if there are any issues that they need to be aware of. And again, I'll talk to you about a technology way to accomplish that exact same thing, but that's the basics that most don't have. During this whole COVID situation, there have been a number of COVID scams. We can't even get into it or even touch to touch the surface, but I want to briefly talk about it because it could relate to you in your real estate business. The criminals immediately, I hate the word, we've overused it, but you know what it is, the P word. Criminals immediately pivoted to. So we're all trying to learn to work virtually online. They were doing the same thing. They sat at their computer and they bought up all of these domains related to COVID-19 and the virus, and they bought them all up. So now when they contact you or someone, or maybe a future victim, they can say, go to the website, and you'll think, oh, that looks legitimate. Don't trust it. What you need to do is you need to make sure you, and I say Google is your best friend. If someone says, I have a COVID-19 or COVID or a pandemic website and I need you to visit it, I need you to make a donation, Google the name of the company and then trust the websites from there, but never in an email, never in a link, knowing the criminals made it their business to buy up all of those domains. And there are so many crimes. And again, we don't have time to get into all of them. Half of our time is almost already gone. So there are so many crimes, including getting an email telling you we're contact tracing, and of all of us, we want to be aware of it. So we're more inclined to click on the links. Don't do it. Call the health department or call a trusted resource, but don't click on any links. And the National Association of Realtors was great getting out there, having real estate agents designated as independent contractors. So you're able to get some of the benefits of other small businesses. So criminals seized on that, and they're sending information about funding, and that information, requesting information, offering you resources. Don't do it. Go directly to the lender, the SBA, or whatever the source is, but don't do it. Going door to door with the lab coat on, saying they're CDC, and also advanced fee loans. And another thing that I stress is I say, lead with safety. Whenever you know about these scams, I'm going to tell you where to find others. Lead with safety. When you have conversations with the consumer, whether it's a buyer or seller, or even FISBOs, then you need to tell them, here's what I've learned. So if you're the agent who's always looking for content so that you can stay in front of your consumer and just send an email newsletter, you can do the top 3 scams of the week or something. And what I say, by leading with safety, you're telling them, I'm always looking out for your safety. I'm not just trying to sell you a house or sell your house, but I want you to know I'm looking out for your safety, safety to stay top of mind. So you can share some of these scams with your consumers. Tech support. And all of us, that's one I probably would fall for. How many of us have had to get tech support? So if you see an email, you're thinking, legitimate. If you go to this website here, and this is being recorded, Kristen's recording this, so you can always go back and look at it or do a screenshot. You can find a list of so many of the scams. And again, if that's, you can throw that into each of your communications with your consumer. Just tell them, here's a safety tip of the week, be careful, beware of these scams. So lead with safety. Now, in the olden days, we used to call it CITO, come into the office, but now everyone is saying meet in a populated place. I take it a step further. Meet in a populated place where you're actually known. I hear so many saying, meet in a coffee shop. That way there are witnesses. If you meet in a coffee shop that's busy and they don't know you from Adam, it's not going to serve the purpose. The goal is to increase witness potential. If the coffee shop is busy and they don't know you, they're not going to be able to tell law enforcement that you were there. They can't give a description of you, and let alone the person you're with. Go to your regular coffee shop where they know your name. It could be the one near your office. It could be the one near your home in your neighborhood. If that doesn't work, go to a trusted affiliate. I bet on here we probably have an affiliate, a lender, title company, mortgage company. If we do, in the chat section, just type, I will. So the question is, who will let a real estate agent use your office or your conference room if they need to have a quick meeting with a new client? Just type I will, and then you can, if they can see your name and your business, then that way they know that they never ever have an excuse to not meet in a public place. That increases the witness potential. So you know that you can tell them, we've got to stop by and I've got to get your information. Here's a real quick story, and this is one that I find agents hesitate to do. There was a real estate agent who was going to meet a new couple. She set up this showing, and then she started thinking, kind of like Beverly, hey, I don't know them. What am I doing? So she calls the guy. She said, look, I'm not comfortable, just meeting you all at the property. Come by my office and, let's get some information. He said, what are you talking about? He said, come by my office first, and I'll get some information from you, and then find out what you need, and then we'll go look at the property. He said, that's crazy. He said, what are you talking about? She said, look, I don't know you from Adam. If I was your mother, your sister, your wife, your daughter doing this job, wouldn't you want them to do the same thing? His next question is, what time do we need to be at your office? Lead with safety. And then if someone questions that, then you have a problem. There's a duplicate there. Okay, there are 7 names on the screen. Can anyone tell me what you notice about those names? And while you're typing in what you notice about those names, let me tell you quickly who they are. David Abbasi was a real estate agent in Atlanta who was killed while working in September of 2016, which of course is Real Estate Safety Month. Ryan Vega, a real estate agent in Las Vegas who was stabbed in the neck while working, again, Safety Month. Sidney Cranston Jr.'s body was found 18 months after he met to show a client property. Lane Gamble, a real estate agent in North Carolina, sitting in his vehicle who had a gun put to his head as he waited outside of a property to show it. An agent in Washington who was brutally assaulted in 2018. Frank Wayman, actually here, a small town in Missouri, a broker owner who let someone in his office to either use the restroom, get something to drink, who was not only robbed at either gun or knife point, but machete point too. David Stocco is the property manager who was killed January of 2019. Kristen, did anyone notice any particular theme about this list?
Oh yes, they all said they're all men.
All men. Excellent point. And that's something when I'm talking about safety so often, the guys kind of roll their eyes and they say, this doesn't involve us. It involves you. It involves men. It involves female agents as well. I wrote an article for Realtor magazine back in 2017. This was the most read article of the year on the whole website. And it talked about 4 ways male agents put themselves in danger. I got an opportunity to interview a lot of male agents. And I said, why? Why do you all think safety doesn't apply to you? I had one who said, the machismo factor, we're tough guys. One said, I'm 6'2" and 250 pounds. No one's going to bother me. And I had one who simply said, we're stupid. We're stupid. We don't pay attention. The article should be required reading if you know a male agent. Share it, and also female agents is great information there when I got to actually talk to agents and find out their mindset. Kristen, do we have any questions that I need to answer before we move on?
I don't see any yet.
Perfect. That means I'm talking a lot and talking enough. Okay, let's talk about the way you dress. I don't have to tell you to dress professionally. I have to tell you to dress safely. That means don't wear your fancy, expensive jewelry while you're showing. I don't know if anyone remembers when they interviewed Beverly Carter's murderer, why he said he picked her. He said because she was a rich real estate agent who worked alone. And part of your jobs are to look successful. You talk about your multi-millions in sales and, I'm $1 million agent, whatever. And criminals don't realize that's what, $18,000 in commission. So they hear the million and they automatically think you're rich. They're targeting you. And you all are some of the best dressed group of people that I get to talk to. I do programs for other than just real estate agents. You guys are some of the best dressed people. So you already have a bullseye. People think you're successful. So I'm telling you to leave the expensive jewelry behind. I had a former kindergarten teacher who had just retired, gotten her license. She said, great, now I get to wear my high heels and my expensive jewelry I couldn't wear in the classroom. No, you can't. You need to make sure you leave anything of value behind. That includes those laptops, that includes your tablets, these smartphones that we work on. Those are what, $1,000 devices. Ladies, your designer handbags could make you a target. Those things are awfully expensive too. And I often say high heel shoes look good on, but they're hard to run in. I was talking in Nashville last year, and I said, agents, wear shoes, and it's sad to have to say it, but it's reality. Wear shoes that if you're in a property and you need to get away, you can get away in a hurry. You guys are in your cars a lot. If your cell phone doesn't work, you run out of gas, you're on the side of the road, you need to walk for help. Hard to do in high heel shoes. So just wear comfortable shoes that you can use to escape. I had an agent take off her heels. She said, this stiletto is my weapon. So she was willing to use it as a weapon. And then I got to talk to another agent, I want to say a couple months ago, who said she used her heel as a weapon as well, did damage, caused the person who was bothering her to have to get stitches. For the rest of us who are not as inclined to be able to use your shoes as a weapon, wear shoes that you can escape in. With this pandemic afoot, I don't think I need to tell you all to keep clients out of your cars. Although my first trip on the road was last month during Safety Month. I went to South Dakota. They never closed there. They never closed. So I had agents saying, yeah, my clients, they ride in the car, everything's normal. It's like, yikes. And then one agent said, and I said, do you all, wear masks when you're in the car? He said, no, not unless they want to. Yikes. So what I am saying is probably a better idea to have, and it is a better idea until you know who they are, you've truly vetted them and know that they're legitimate, to have separate cars. You can use an excuse like, well, now we can say the pandemic, right? Or you can use the excuse, my insurance agent probably wouldn't like it, or my team, my company, I have a safety procedure that the clients don't ride in the car, whatever it takes. Now here's an area that, I'm looking at the clock, we have about 25 minutes. Here's an area that I feel like I'm not going to win when I tell real estate agents to reconsider using your pictures in your advertisement because it makes you a target. I mentioned I have a twin sister. So Stacy has our pictures. Our picture is on her business card. It is on the Royals and the Chief schedules that she mails out to her clients. And I asked one day, it's like, Stacy, why do you need your picture on your business card? Is it going to help you get more business, help you sell more houses? She said, I am my business. I talk to agents across the country and they say, you all say the same thing, your branding, your marketing. So I'm not going to be able to stop you from using a personal picture, but I can request that it be a personal picture, please. I can't tell you how many soft, fuzzy, romantic, looking over your shoulder pictures I've seen. No, what are you selling? Absolutely not. I've seen some things. There used to be a Google Plus group called the Hot Real Estate Agents. And the pictures that were on that page would get me in trouble. I couldn't show them, but real estate agents thought whatever it took. There is a real estate agent who has her picture in a bikini on a billboard. She was excited because her website visits went from 2,000 to 20,000. She likes that. Anything for attention. Male agents do it too. And if you look at this one, this agent says, look at the bottom line. You have to look at creative ways these days, even if it means pimping yourself out in order to get attention. I'm here to say absolutely not. I was speaking in Vegas a few years ago, and I had a table, I call them glamazons, who were saying, they disagree with me. It's like, why can't we use our picture? It's a great idea. It helps us in our business. That picture on the top left is the picture that's on their business card. This is their website. And it says, call our hotline for any of our angels. What kind of phone calls do you think they get? So if you must use a picture, make it a professional picture. Speaking of pictures, you have to talk to your clients about getting a picture of them, if not an idea picture. And I ask this question all the time. I hear agents say, well, just take a picture of them and send it to someone, or take a picture of their car, their license plate, and them discreetly and send it to someone. Rarely do I get agents who say, yes, I will take a picture, let them know I'm taking it. But then agents all the time before you get out of the car, you snap a picture of the car and the license plate and the person hopefully getting out. And then don't just leave it on your phone. You've got to send it to someone along with your location. Send it to your safety partner, whoever that may be, and let them know this is who I am with and this is how long we'll be here. That way, if you don't show up, they can hand that to law enforcement officials and they can start to trace your steps. Now, when you're advertising your property, there are certain words that you should not use because it's going to make you more vulnerable. For example, isolated, secluded, romantic, hidden, whatever. If criminals see that and they think, oh, that's a perfect crime scene, beware the words that you use. I'm going to talk to you about ways to use technology to stay safe. All of us have had to go virtual in order to stay connected socially or professionally. In order to stay in business, you had to go virtual. So many of you all are doing virtual open houses, virtual tours, just taking a lot of pictures and using that to limit the number of showings. You need to be careful what is being shown in the background of those virtual tours and videos and pictures, because you could make your clients vulnerable. The sellers could be vulnerable if you're taking pictures of their extensive gun collection or their expensive artwork or the expensive electronics in their media room. Focus on the room, focus on the house, not so much what's inside. That helps you protect your sellers. You all have gone live. So many of us have turned to Facebook. The National Association of Realtors says that Facebook is the #1 social media platform. So on Facebook, you know, if you go live, you're going to be, it'll bump your post in the algorithm, right? Isn't that what it's all about nowadays? We want people to know who we are and where we are. And so that the goal is to get more likes, more eyes on your post. So you tell people where you are. I am here at this open house. Come say hi to me. That is dangerous because in the real estate business, stalking is a big deal. And as a matter of fact, in January, I'm doing a class on stalking for real estate agents. It's that big of a deal. That's National Stalking Awareness Month. Stalking is a big deal. So if you're telling people where you are, they can find you and they can also find out where you live and you're not home. So you increase the opportunities of your property being burglarized. I had an agent say to me, I interviewed her for, was it Woman Up and maybe Realtor Magazine. And she said, what I do is I go live or I'll do my post. You can even post an open house and then tape it and then post it. So you're not even there. But she said, I won't say the address. I'll go live or I'll say, you know, here's the listing. I'll walk through it. And if you want the address, either messenger me or send me a text message or a comment or email. That way she's doing 2 things. 1, accountability. She knows who she's dealing with. And 2, lead gen. She has their information, she can follow up and contact them. So that's a brilliant way to do it. Okay, open house safety. For those who say just don't do open houses, they're dangerous, I say that's not realistic. And if I said that, it would go in one ear and out the other because you're going to do what it takes. Now, do open houses sell houses? Not necessarily, but nowadays maybe it does. But for the most part, no. Real estate agents do open houses because it helps you, again, generate business. It's a business development tool. You can get buyers and sellers that way, so you must do it. Just a couple real quick tips about open houses. Again, virtual open houses, that's a thing now. So most people are doing that without question. If you have an open house and we're still in the middle of a pandemic, lead with safety. Most of you all have the PPE and you're using the COVID protocols. Lead with safety. Let your sellers know, hey, you know, can you disinfect the surfaces before we get there? Turn light switches on, open blinds, open closets, cabinets, so we don't have to open them. The less surfaces that we have to touch, the safer for you. Let them know you're thinking about their safety. On the other side, buyers. I had an agent who said, I'm not providing PPE for buyers. That's not my job. So imagine you and your buyers go to a property, you have your PPE because it's required, and then the seller won't let the buyers in unless they have PPE. You're going to lose out. So have a PPE kit. You all know that KCRAR are selling those items wholesale for real estate agents. No reason to not have a PPE kit. So you can hand that to your buyers. Here's the footies, here's the gloves or the mask so that you can be safe and we protect our sellers. Lead with safety. They see that you're concerned about their safety and that's going to stick with them. Can I say it again? Lead with safety. Okay, and then social engineering, we've got 17 minutes or so. Facebook is a perfect place for social engineering to take place. That means criminals are sitting there and they're just waiting to steal your information in order to victimize you. And this, again, is another topic that you can share with your sellers or consumers. Beware social engineering on Facebook. There was a post, you guys remember in the beginning of the pandemic, you know, let's show the class of 2020 that we're with them. Post a picture of your graduation picture. It's a kind, fun thing to do. Everybody was posting their pictures. No need to feel bad about it. Criminals were noting that. And then again, there's one now that says, say your age and a picture of what you look like now. Own it. Be proud of how you are, your actual age. People are flocking to do that. Show us your first car. Digging out those pictures, posting them. Criminals are watching. This is a way that they get information from you that they need in order to victimize you, to hack your accounts. A lot of times, if you lose a password, one of the questions is, when did you graduate? Where'd you graduate? What was your first car? You get it? So they're asking you to provide us information to hack your account. So when you see those questions, they're fun, but you need to still be careful. I had no idea there was such a thing as cyber insurance. Cyber insurance is like any other insurance. It's there to protect you if you get sued or you cause damage. It reduces liability. In the world that we're living in now, you've moved from your office computers to your laptops at home, you have client information on there. If someone hacks your account and your client information is exposed, you're going to have to tell them. If your client is harmed, somebody's getting sued. It will be maybe the agent, it may be the company. You need to protect against that unless you have $150 or $200,000 laying around to pay to settle the lawsuit, then cyber insurance is important. What's even more important is to avoid a claim before it happens. Just like we wear seatbelts and we have our home alarm systems, we want to mitigate the damage. Same thing with cyber insurance. You need to make sure your computer, when you're working from home, has the IT protocols from your company. So you need to make sure that you're talking to your broker manager. And if you're working on your own laptop, firewalls or whatever you require needs to be in place. So there's so many cyber crimes that agents can be victim to. But the one thing that a cyber expert told me that stuck with me is that all cyber crimes are a result of our behavior. We cannot be victimized unless we take a step, whether it's clicking a link, responding to an email, putting too much information out there. We have to take a step in order to be victimized. So before you do anything, before you click anything, before you respond to anything, I always say, pause, stop for a minute, read it, reread it before you act. I even get text messages now where they're looking for information. Tracy, your PayPal account's been hacked. Click here to reset it. Normally you click, it's like, oh my God, my PayPal account. Stop. Go to the PayPal website and find out whether or not it's legitimate, which is what I did. So you can prevent a lot of crimes. You need to have training. That's what I cover in my broker manager training, what to look for, the kind of emails that are dangerous, what kind of links, what kind of attachments you need to watch out for. But I just say, stop everything. Stop and look first. If you all are using a Gmail or a Yahoo email address, because they're easier, criminals agree with you. They're easier to hack. If you have a company domain for your website, that's the email that you should be using because your company has protocols in place. Criminals know that Yahoo and Gmail accounts are easy to hack. So they get excited when they see those. And someone pointed out to me, well, Tracy, you have a Gmail account. I had to say the difference is I don't have client information on my laptop. I don't ask clients for financial information. So you need to make sure you're using your company provided email account. And you can always point it to your Gmail if it's easier to check it on the phone. But your company has procedures in place that help you. Okay, 13 minutes here that help you stay safe. I don't have to talk about Zoom bombing. Zoom stepped in immediately and solved the problem. They built in protocols to solve the Zoom bombing problem. What I have to tell you is beware of Zoom breaches. There are criminals out there on the so-called dark web that are combing accounts, looking for your password, your login information so that they can victimize you. One thing they're looking for, email address. They're looking for the Zoom personal meeting IDs, the PIN numbers. What you need to do is to make sure you use unique passwords for every website visited. And there is a website on the bottom box. I forgot the .com, but that's how it's spelled. There is no vowel between the P and W. Have I been pwned.com. Later on this afternoon, when you're done with your classes this morning, go to the haveibeenpwned.com website, type in your email address and prepare to be shocked. I did that earlier this year, and there were 13 websites that I had joined or registered to that actually had been breached, a security breach, Canva, Poshmark. And then I did it last month. There were over 28. Tracy, your email address was used on this website and they were breached. You need to go in and change your password. HaveIBeenPwned.com is a website that you need to visit post haste. And again, share it with the consumer. Here's another tip that I'm helping you all stay safe. You need to know that there's no such thing as privacy. If you have a digital assistant, the Nest, they're perfect, the Alexa, absolutely wonderful. But you also need to know that there's no privacy, just the essence of them. Think about it. You can make a phone call just by saying, call John Smith or call whoever, and it'll call it for you, right? Or pull up their information. What if you're talking about their business with maybe a loan officer or another agent, and you are in your office and you have your Alexa there, and you say a name, a client's name or another real estate agent's name, and your digital assistant dials that person unbeknown to you, and here you are discussing their file or discussing them, it could be a little sticky. So you need to know there's no such thing as privacy. And that goes for your phone too. My phone is active whenever I say certain keywords, because I have the Google Now, the voice setup, it's active and it's hearing me and it's calling, and sometimes it'll just say listening. So that goes for your phones too. You need to realize that smart technology could invade privacy without you even knowing about it. The answer with your devices, so that you don't accidentally activate that call feature or even the camera, is to simply unplug your device when you're having personal and confidential conversation. That's from Bhg Kch. You all might know him. He happens to be a local tech guy. He says, unplug it, talk your business and plug it back in for whatever you need it for. We won't go into the Alexa. I've got, let's see, 10 minutes here. Won't go into the Alexa, but if you have Alexa, you need to know that there is a way for you to disable having Amazon employees listen in. And yes, they are listening in. That's how they're able to personalize your contacts, your requests, because they're listening in and they know exactly what you're looking for. So they can make suggestions, and all of a sudden you're saying, how did they know? Who was listening? Yes, they're listening. Coronavirus, National Association of Realtors got right out in front of it, and they have protocols in place. By now you're deep into it. You don't need me to cover this with you. And I don't think we're going to be shaking hands for a long time in the future, but definitely share that information with your clients. Let them know, emphasize, I'm doing this to keep you safe. This is for you. One of the things that I've done is I created a seller listing safety plan to help real estate agents stand out from all of the other agents who are on these listing appointments. You don't want to just show up and say the same thing that the other 2 or 3 agents before you said. So lead with safety. I created a seller security checklist. So you walk in the door and you immediately start talking about how to be safe when their house is on the market and the public's walking through. You're talking to them about getting mail out of the jewelry out of jewelry boxes, medicine out of medicine cabinets, put those personal pictures away, locks, landscaping, things that no other agent's talking about. You're not talking aesthetically. You're saying this is for your safety, the safety of your family, and to protect your valuables. And that also includes the stacks of mail, not just aesthetically because it's junky, but because you can have financial documents and someone could steal your identity. Go to Realtor Magazine, find the article that I wrote about it, and there's a link to get that checklist. Okay, and then one thing that I did is created a sheet with 13 safety tips for FSBOs. Most of y'all don't like FSBOs. Well, you want the FSBO because you want to get that house on the market, but FSBOs don't necessarily like you because you all say the same thing. I can sell your house. I've got a buyer. They don't want to hear it. They think, how hard is this? Put a sign in the yard, sell the house, and save the commission, right? It's not that easy. What you're going to do, and I will make this form available. I've given away thousands of these forms. Staple your business card to it. Here are 13 ways to keep your house and your family safe while your house is on the market. Mail it to them, stick it in their door, give it to them, whatever. But don't talk about selling your house. Don't talk about listing their house. Just do the right thing, give them the safety tips, and then staple your business card to it. And then by the time they get to number 13, when they see you're not supposed to show a loan, you have to screen the client, put your valuables away, don't tell your schedule. When they get to the bottom, they're thinking, no way, no way. I didn't know it was this complicated. I didn't know it was this dangerous. I bet your card rises to the top of the stack. That's another way to use safety to help increase your business development tool. Okay, you can find that article. The article tells how to use that form to convert FSBOs into listings. Again, email me, put FSBO safety checklist in the subject line. I will email you that PDF to use. Okay, so we've got, about 7 minutes. And if you thought I was talking fast before, I'm going to try. Okay, so let's talk about the myth. No such thing as privacy. I'm not going to go deep on the social media now because by now you all realize that on your personal page, you are not supposed to talk about business because Facebook said that's against the rule. If you're talking about open houses and showings on your Facebook page, then you could very well go there to log in and your account would be gone. So you're supposed to talk about business on your business page, but that still means you need to take extra precaution. You can't say, come see me, come say hi at my open house this afternoon, stop in, I bake cookies. Don't do it. Stalking is a big deal. So you're not only telling people where you are, you're telling them where you're not. And again, that is dangerous. And you're thinking, nobody knows where I live. What's the big deal? I'm going to show you really quickly. by now you all already know what not to say on social media. The more information that you give, the more you allow someone to find you and to target you. Don't talk about vacations until you're home, family, your social life. If you're that agent, the fun, the life of the party, dancing around on the bar with a lampshade on your head, and you think, oh, I'll post it on Facebook, it's funny, only my friends will see it. Absolutely not. How many times on TV have we seen now deleted posts? No such thing as privacy. Talk to your sellers about their Facebook accounts, their social media posting. And we've got 5 minutes left. So if you have questions, make sure you type them in, because, and Kristen will interrupt me because I want to get through these slides really quickly here. So if you have sellers who are on social media, you need to tell them there are some things that you should not say. And that also includes health. If your seller is talking about, you know, my husband is, we need a warm weather climate. We've got to get this house sold in a hurry so that we can get to a warm weather climate because of his health. They're removing your negotiation techniques. If they're talking about, oh, thank goodness we're not knee deep in water in the basement anymore, finally got it fixed, or we can put the buckets away, no more catching water from that horrible leaking roof. Tell them, don't do it. So that's another conversation that you're having with them. You need to do your research, know what's out there, and not only about you, but your clients. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. And I'm just going to briefly zoom through this one. These are websites that make it their business to compile all of the information, public information about you, public records. That includes any lawsuits, any public records, suits filed against you, suits that you filed, social media accounts, any public information about you in one easy place. Know that you can use this to check out not only your buyers to make sure who you're meeting with, but your sellers. You're going to a listing appointment with a complete stranger in a house. You need to make sure they are who they say they are. But on the other side, you need to know that they are checking you out and they can use these same tools. Spokeo is one of them, and you can subscribe to them, or you can just go on for free. I typed in my address. It told me information on my neighborhood. It told me the estimated value of my house. This was a few years back. I don't know if the information's all still the same. I imagine that the safety score is different, but it also has a map to my house. This is for free. Just type it in. This is a map where I grew up, the childhood home, first apartment, first house, the house I live in now, and a map just for anyone who wants to know where they're located. This one has my, oh, I better turn, Stacey, I'll get mad if people know our age, but it has your age on there real time. It talks about who's in your house. Again, here's my neighborhood. Here's a map to my house. All of this information for free for anyone who checks. My Gmail address, they know who I am. They found me. So you need to be careful. You need to Google yourself on a regular basis so you can know what's out there about you. If you're too lazy, like I am, set up what's called a Google alert. Google it. Set up a Google alert with your name so that you can check and see what's out there about you. If anything is published about you, you will get an email with a link to the website, the article, whatever it is, and it will let you know what's out there so you can know what everyone sees. Use that to help your consumer. Again, Craigslist frauds. Anyone can hijack a listing, right? Or hijack a listing, whatever it's called. So what you can do is you can't stop those Craigslist crimes. Every single listing, type it in as a Google alert. If anything is published online about that listing, whether it's a Craigslist listing or if it's posted somewhere online, you're going to get an email. You can go to your seller, again, service that no one else is providing, and say, hey, we've got a problem. You know, I got this email, we can get out in front of it, put a sign in the window, this house is for sale, it's not for lease, or call my agent, call me, do not wire money to anyone. You can get out in front of it. Another service that you offer, and then we're going to wind up here. Wire fraud is a big deal, and you're thinking, it'll never happen to me. It happened to Barbara Corcoran, probably the most famous real estate agent in the world. She, her office wired $380,000 because she thought it was a legitimate email for a property. It wasn't. So if it can happen to Barbara, she was able to get her money back. It can happen to you. I was interviewed by Boston Globe. You can go back and look at this tape or Google the article. It talks about real estate scams. The one thing I'm going to wind up with here is safety apps. So many people say, what's the best safety app? There are so many of them out there. Most companies come to me, Tracy, you know, we need you to tell agents about it, about our app. I say, absolutely not. There's one that I actually like. It's called Agent Safe Walk. And I like it because it has a GPS feature and it has a live feature and a broad mass notification feature. If you're in a situation and you feel uncomfortable, you immediately push the app and a person comes on, a live person is there looking at you. You can say, hey, new client, this is my safety partner. They're looking at them eye to eye. They're talking to them. There is a witness. And this app also allows you to put any medical information. So if you have any allergies or anything, it's stored on the app. It tracks your comings and goings. So any app must have at least a live feature and a GPS feature. Okay, and let's just zip through. Final thing we're going to end with, I keep saying that, right? I've got a minute and I do talk fast. Cameras. When you're showing a property, assume that there is a camera, from a doorbell camera to cameras inside of the house, and tell your clients not to talk about it. There was an agent whose client said, I want this house no matter what, we'll pay full price, but let's start low. The seller was listening. So guess how much they pay for the house? 100% full price. So you can go back through and look at this taping later on. Your phone has a built-in feature, find my iPhone, and not iPhone, but I have an Android. You can find my phone on Google. It'll track your phone. If you choose to carry a safety product, pepper spray is the #1 product that the NAR found that agents use, non-lethal products, and that's something that I also make available. And finally, let me breathe. I realized, looking at a tape of myself, that I don't take breaths between sentences. So I'm going to breathe now because we're wrapping it up here. Again, my seminar, my designation as a consumer safety and security specialist, my broker management class, the certification class is there. Handbook, that's the Facebook group. Go on that Facebook page and look for information on safety for real estate agents, all the stories, articles, and resources. And if you need that FSBO safety sheet, email me. My email address is right there in the subject line. Just write FSBO safety sheet request. And I am done. So Christian, were there any questions or any comments or anything?
Oh my gosh, Tracy, you do talk fast, but oh my gosh, it was loaded with good information.
Wonderful.
The comments that I'm seeing, just appreciation for all of the great information. And then do you have one resource, or could you share with me either your slides or some links and resources that we can get our hands on some of these forms and websites and the tips that you shared with us today?
Sure. This is recorded, right? So agents can go back through this. Tell me what's the best way to do that? Would it be to email you the resources, some of the slides specifically with the resources, and then you can share it with your agent?
Yep.
I can do that.
That would be fantastic. I did put Tracy's email address in the chat. Lots of questions about whether or not we're going to get copies of the slides. Probably not all the slides because they're Tracy's and that's her content. But we will gather together all of these great resources for you all and make sure that you have access to these and all this great information that Tracy shared. Gosh, there was a lot of good stuff, good tips, and we really appreciate you sharing that this morning with our agents.
Wonderful. That's my passion and my profession, and I get to travel again across the country, and I love being able to do it for the agents here in my hometown. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, we appreciate your knowledge and appreciate you being with us this morning.
Wonderful.
All right, we are going to switch gears now. Tracy, again, thank you. Lots of great comments coming through in the chat. Appreciation for you. We're going to switch gears a little bit, and for the next half hour, we're going to talk a little bit about fair housing and some things that I've seen in the trade, some things that I've been paying attention to nationally that really we need to make you all aware of and make sure that you're in a position where we don't want you to get into any fair housing violations. So we've got a couple of little hot buttons that I'm going to touch on this morning in regards to fair housing. The first topic we're going to talk about is the buyer love letters. And then we're going to talk about steering and how easy it is as agents to get caught in that trap. So let me share my screen here. And we'll get rolling into this part. And again, if you have questions as we go through here, we've got a lot of people on here today. So I would ask that you put any questions in chat. If for some reason I miss them, if one of the brokers that's on, if you kind of pay attention to chat and let me know if I missed something here as I'm presenting, that'd be great. Moyer, I see you on my screen. So I'm gonna put you in charge of that. All right, first of all, fair housing defined. We take a lot of classes on this and we know, but I think it's worth mentioning, what are our protected classes in regards to fair housing? It's race, color, religion, national origin, ancestry, sex, disability, and familial status. And there's a lot of gray, people think there's a lot of gray area with familial status. So I put on here how Kansas defines familial status, and this is pretty similar for Missouri. So familial status, I'm going to read this, refers to households with one or more children under the ages of 18 that are living with parents or legal custodians, those securing custody. In Missouri, they actually say those going through the adoption process of anyone under the age of 18, and pregnant women also fall into that protected class of familial status. And then down below, I've got how you define a disability. And I'll be sharing these slides with everybody, so everybody will have a copy of this. I'm not going to read everything that's on the screen for you. There's a lot of information up there. Next slide that I've got for you here, this comes straight from the Kansas Fair Housing website. And these are different types of discrimination. And again, I'll share this. And a lot of you know this, but what we're going to focus on today is how fair housing really has come into play with our current market situation with multiple offers, and as it relates to these buyer love letters we're receiving and how dangerous those are in regards to really crossing lines with fair housing. And then we're going to talk about this last bullet point on here, which is steering. And I know that you all know what steering is, but I'm going to play a couple videos for you, and we're going to talk about how you can avoid steering. I'm going to show you some examples of how this is going on even today in our marketplace. It's happening, and it happens more often than you might think. So let's first talk about these buyer love letters. And just recently, this video came out from NAR, and I'm going to do something real quick here. I need to stop sharing, and I need to reshare so I can get audio on this. I'm going to play this video for you that came to us from NAR, and it talks about the legalities of handling multiple offers. And the second point that they make in here is about specifically about these buyer love letters. And then we're going to discuss these a little bit. And I think that you all need to be aware of these, especially given our current market situation. So let's watch this video and then we will catch up on the back end of it.
Hi, I'm Deanne Romarowitz, Associate Counsel at NAR. Presenting and negotiating multiple offers brings the potential for misunderstanding and missed opportunities. But by adhering to a few fundamental principles, real estate professionals can help avoid complaints and fair housing issues while helping both the seller and buyer understand their options. Multiple offers often arise when buyer demand exceeds the inventory of listed properties. Here are 3 principles you should follow when navigating multiple offers with your clients. First, be mindful of your legal and ethical duties. Be familiar with the laws and regulations in your state that spell out duties owed to a client, timetables for presenting offers, and what may be disclosed to the other party in a multiple offer situation. For example, some states expressly prohibit revealing the terms of a buyer's offer without that buyer's consent. The Realtor Code of Ethics also applies to multiple offer scenarios. Article 1 requires realtors to protect and promote the interest of their client while treating all parties honestly. And Standard of Practice 1-15 requires a realtor, with the seller's approval, to disclose the existence of other offers on the property when asked by a cooperating broker or buyer. Second, be aware that buyer love letters can trigger fair housing concerns. A buyer love letter could include letters, videos, photos, or any communication that accompanies an offer from a potential buyer in an effort to appeal to the seller. These love letters often innocently include personal information that can reveal a prohibited basis for discrimination, such as, "We can see our family celebrating Christmas around the fireplace," or "The wide hallways will accommodate my wheelchair." Remember, fair housing laws are all about eliminating discrimination and ensuring that anyone who is qualified can purchase real estate. A love letter can trigger implicit bias, putting a seller in a position of preferring a buyer based on a feeling or something that the seller just likes about the buyer. Accepting an offer based on anything other than the price, terms, and merits of the offer might violate fair housing law. Real estate professionals should discourage the use and consideration of buyer love letters to reduce the risk of discrimination. Third, remember that the client makes the decisions. As a real estate professional, you can educate your clients about multiple offers and the various strategies for responding to them. You can even offer advice and suggestions based on your knowledge and experience. But it's up to the client to decide which offers and counteroffers to negotiate, reject, and ultimately accept. With these fundamentals in mind, here are some best practices you can use in a multiple offer situation. If you're the listing broker, discuss the potential for multiple offers at the listing interview. Explain the options available to the seller and get the seller's instruction for handling multiple offers. Explain the fair housing implications of a buyer love letter. Confirm that such letters should not be accepted. And if the seller insists on reading a love letter, advise that they seek legal counsel and document their decision-making process. Get the seller's direction whether to disclose the existence of multiple offers to prospective buyers. And then make reasonable efforts to keep buyers' representatives up to date on the status of their offers. If you're the buyer's broker, educate buyer clients about the current market and their options for making an offer. Remind your buyer that they may not know if there are other offers on the table. Inform the buyer that the terms of their offer may not be treated as confidential unless required by state law. If the buyer insists on including a love letter, explain the fair housing concerns and do not read or accept the letter. You can help avoid complaints and reduce the stress inherent in multiple offers when you remember the fundamental rules and treat all parties honestly. More resources are available at nar.realtor, including a downloadable client brochure that explains the multiple offer process. Thanks for watching Window to the Law.
All right, so the piece of that I really want to pull out to discuss with you all today are these buyer love letters. If you have attended, and a lot of you have, the Code of Ethics class that I teach both for the company and for the board, you've been a party to these discussions, and I know Fran has talked about these in her classes. But really, as a company and as a part of risk management, we need to talk about the risks involved when you're on either side of the transaction as it relates to these buyer love letters. And you really need to be aware of the implications to your clients. I always say in the Code of Ethics class that these buyer love letters are not a part of the contract. And our job, and it states it in the Code of Ethics, is to present all offers both timely and objectively. And I would argue that these buyer love letters really shift that objectivity to subjectivity. It's not a part, it's not a term in the contract. And you need to have your sellers being focused on the terms of the contract and understand that these buyer love letters can really put them and put you at some risk, especially as it relates to fair housing. Oftentimes we'll see buyer love letters that have these photos attached. And I want to show you an example of one. And this isn't to call out these particular buyers or this agent, but this is one that was received a couple weeks ago. And you can see that it came with a picture. And I'm going to read you. Let me see if I can zoom in here so you can see that more clear. I've tried to black out their names. But they talk in this first paragraph about their children. They talk about, which is protected class. We've got familial status here. We could have gender orientation as a part of this. They talk about their, what does it say in here? About the Montessori school and the location to their church. So we've got religion woven into this one. Lots of issues here. Lots of issues here. And you can't control as a listing agent what the content is in these buyer love letters. So my recommendation moving forward with the buyer love letters is that we, first of all, you need to educate both your sellers and buyers on these and the implications, but also talk to the sellers about if they want to see them, maybe you show them to them afterwards and not before. The other thing that you can do to mitigate some of this risk is to put in MLS. If you're a listing agent with your listings, to put into MLS in the showing agent remarks that the buyer letters will not be presented with offers, that only the contract and terms therein are going to be presented, and it gives them notification right up front that you are not going to present the buyer love letters. There are ways to write these letters that don't, that really steer away from these fair housing violations, but you have to focus on the terms of the contract specifically and their ability to perform. And it's really hard to do that and not to blur that line. And if you've got a listing agent on the other end that's not going to present them, you need to know that and you need to tell your buyers that. Any questions that you all have at this point about these, the buyer love letters and really how to address this? And I've clicked through some of these slides up here, which came, this information actually came from the California Association of Realtors and their legal counsel, but it's really applicable to us as well. But I've got up here your potential problems with buyer letters. Any questions that you all have about these buyer love letters and how to address these either with your sellers or with your buyers? Couple of questions here coming through chat. If you're competing with other agents that present the love letters, my recommendation on that is to, from the agent perspective, is to write a cover letter with the offer, not from your buyers, but from you, that talk about the terms of the contract, talk about your buyer's ability to perform, and really state, I would almost come out and state, we're not including a letter from the buyer because we don't want to put you, the seller, at risk, and bring that to their attention, because if you've got a listing agent that's presenting those, they might not be aware of the risks, and you basically call it out in that cover letter that you're not including one of those because you don't want to put the seller at risk or put the agent at risk. And you want the offers judged on the merits of the terms, not on the feelings or emotions that are subjective with these buyer love letters. Carol asks, is putting it in the MLS agent showing instructions enough? It's a lot more than we do right now. Right now, it's kind of, it's up to each individual agent, and sometimes you don't even know as a buyer's agent whether they're going to present those or not. It should be on your list of questions that you ask so you know how to prepare appropriately and prepare one of those cover letters from you for the offer. But right now, we really don't have any guidance from our MLS on where is the proper place to put that, which is why I recommend putting it in the agent showing instructions. And I would let, Carol, as you receive those, if your seller, you've had the conversation with your seller about these, and it's important that you have that conversation because, again, your clients make the decisions. Make sure that you tell co-oping agents when they submit offers with the letters that the letters will not be included. Monica says, with multiple offers, I give sellers a spreadsheet of the terms of all offers and only give them the letter if they select that offer. Are we required to tell our clients we received the letters from the buyers? You do need to tell them that you've received them, but this is why you need to have a conversation with them ahead of time. When you're having the detailed expectation setting conversation about how they want to deal with multiple offers, that's a good time to then weave into that conversation the buyer love letters and find out how they want to address those on the upfront. So then you're not caught off guard when you start receiving them on how to handle them. You need to set the expectation up front with them and have them make those decisions before you ever even have offers on the table would be my recommendation there. Susan asked, if you have a buyer client who demands that you present a love letter and you do not, is there liability? There could be. I would have your buyer, and the legal counsel in the video states this, and it's also on, I think it's on the, let me get to this one, how to discourage buyer love letters. I would have the buyer consult with legal counsel and have their legal counsel approve the letter. And that's a way that you can maybe discourage them from writing one. Amy asked, what if the buyer's agent wants to present their client's offer? That's a tough one. They have the right to be present when the offer is presented and to present the offer. I had this come up in my code of ethics class last week, and somebody asked, what if they're present and they start making remarks about the buyers themselves and talking about some things that would violate fair housing? And that's when you as a listing agent have to control the conversation and make sure that they are only presenting the contract and the terms therein. And it could get uncomfortable during that live presentation to the sellers, where you're going to have to cut them off. And that could be an uncomfortable conversation. Again, if the sellers understand why you're doing that, because you've had that conversation with them about setting expectations, it's going to be a little bit easier. Otherwise, they're going to be sitting there going, why is Christian doing this? Why is she cutting the agent off? Linda asked, what about the expectation you set up for multiple offers in general when you don't know for sure there will be multiple offers? That's a good question, Linda, and I'll address that real quick, and we're going to move on to the next topic here, just in the sake of time, because that really leads into a whole nother discussion. But when I'm having the conversation with sellers about multiple offers, I say this is, it's not guaranteed that we're going to get multiple offers, but let's talk through a couple different scenarios, and let me give you the pros and cons on what could happen if we receive multiple offers, what could happen if we don't, and let's talk about how we're going to address those different situations now versus when the emotions are high and we're in kind of the heat of the game. So that's really how I kind of set the stage, and how I recommend you set the stage for seller when you're talking about expectations. You've got to make sure that as you're doing that you let them know that there's no guarantee that multiple offers are going to present, but that you want them prepared for all options. Somebody is drawing on the screen for me. I don't know who it is, but very creative. So let's move on. We've got about 10 minutes left, and I want to get to our next topic here, and our last topic this morning, and that is steering. I want to show you, many of you have seen this. I know that it's been shown in some of your offices. If you've taken my code of ethics class, we spend a good portion of time on talking about this investigation as it relates to Article 10 of the Code of Ethics and Fair Housing. But almost a year ago, last November, this investigation came out from an organization called Newsday, and they did a 3-year investigation in Long Island, which is the most segregated suburb in America. And they set out to do an undercover investigation to find out what role realtors played in keeping Long Island segregated. And there's a lot of incredible content and a lot of great learning opportunities. I pulled just one of them out for us this morning to take a look at as it relates to steering. And steering is a big issue. And I mentioned earlier that it happens all the time. It happens today in our marketplace. This isn't something that happens on the coast that we're insulated from. And probably the most often ways that I see it in our marketplace is as it relates to school districts. And we have clients that hire us for what's up here. They want our knowledge. And we have to be really careful about making sure that we're drawing the line and not providing them with our opinion, but providing them with facts and providing them with resources so they can make the decisions. Remember that last part of that video, the clients make the decisions, we provide the information. But what's happening is they're coming and saying, okay, Christian, I'm moving to Kansas City. I've never been, don't know much about the city. I understand, we've got Kansas and Missouri. I want to find a school district that's good for my kids. And if I immediately jump in and start pointing them to certain school districts based on my experiences and my opinions, that is steering. And we need to be real careful about those conversations and not crossing that line. Now, what I can do and what I recommend that you do is provide resources for them and provide information for them that allows them to do the research. We have all of this knowledge and we have all of these resources. There's nothing wrong with us providing that information to them, letting them do the research and make the decisions. So we're not stonewalling them. We're not saying I can't provide that information. You're giving them the resources. You're the source of the source. I'm going to give you a couple of resources here, but I want to play this video for you that talks directly about this investigation that happened in New Jersey on Long Island, and then it relates specifically to school districts. So let's watch this video and then we'll talk about some of these resources and some of the ways that this is going on right here in our backyard.
Agents often applied a laser-like focus on school districts, highlighting their perceived quality when recommending places that house hunters should consider buying or avoid.
The best schools are in Jericho and Syosset area. But you know what? Legally, because I'm a real estate agent, they tell us not to talk about schools. Can you believe it?
I said, do you really want your future children going to Amityville School District?
I'm going to try and stay away from Freeport, Roosevelt, Hempstead for now because of the school district.
If you're in Massapequa, you only want School District 23. Okay. You don't want 6 in Massapequa because that takes in Amityville, and you're not going to like those schools.
Fair housing experts say touting or disparaging schools can put agents in jeopardy because talking about school districts can be taken as a euphemism for race.
There's a few districts that I know I would I won't look in those towns.
Oh, okay.
You know, like Freeport and Baldwin and Amityville, which is part of Massapequa schools, but it's just certain parts of Massapequa.
Well, hearing that she made a comment about preferring some school districts or saying there's certain school districts that she'd absolutely avoid, but not making those same comments to Calvin. I mean, in my mind, that's clearly wrong.
Ross declined comment. A lawyer for Ross at her present employer, Douglas Elliman, said Ross never referenced race and was merely speaking to her understanding of school ratings and wouldn't go near them because the tester wanted to be within 45 minutes from Manhattan.
If the customer asked about the quality of the schools and the agent responded with accurate information, I think the agent would be fine. The problem with talking about differentials in schools is that at least in the last 10 or 15 years, that has been a proxy for race. They don't mention the race of the community. Good schools are available in these areas. Those areas I'd stay away from because they have poor schools. I want to ask, did you tell that to the other tester? If you're only giving that information to one tester of the two and the only difference is the race, then you've provided what I call differential service.
Reza Amir Yavari and Margaret Bertrand.
I'm going to pause it there and stop that video. As I mentioned, this came from this Newsday investigation that was on Long Island, and a lot of great learning opportunities if you go in and watch these videos. And I did, it was back in June, and I'll make sure that I send it out to everybody. I did a whole hour on really this investigation, a class for you all on fair housing, and it really focused on this investigation, some things that you need to be aware of. But I think this morning it's important for us to pull out this one piece of it, although it's all very critical. But let's talk about school districts a little bit and talk about the information and the resources that you have available that are okay to provide to buyers. We have RPR that's baked into our MLS system that has great, I know it can be a rabbit hole, but they have reports that are school reports now. That you can go in and you can start with a school district, you can start with an elementary school and get a report that's all fed in from, I believe, the source that they're using is Great Schools. There's another resource that I really like, and that resource is called niche.com, and I'll go to the website now and then I'm going to put it in chat for you. It's a website, but it's also an app that your clients can put right on their phones. And what I like about Niche, so what you need to understand is that some of these school rating websites are unfortunately a pay-to-play environment. Niche is not that way. It pulls in census data, it pulls in information from the US Department of Education, lots of different, they do their own research, but lots of different resources and sources are aggregated to provide incredible resources for your clients so they can research schools. They can research, and this applies to anything, any of their criteria, whether it's safe neighborhood criteria, they want to be in a good community, they want a good school district. Well, what's good to them is not the same as what's good to you. They might have an expectation that a good school is based on teacher to student ratios, based on test scores. Another client, a good school to them might be based on their graduation rates, might be based on their athletic endeavors. It might be based on their music program. To have a blanket statement that we want a good school, there's so many different variables to that. And what's important to you in a school and what's important to me are two completely different things. So you need to provide the resources for them, be the source of the source. Don't give your opinion, but give them factual information so they can do the research and come back to you and say, okay, now that we've looked, these are the areas that we want to look for a home in. Great. That's where I come in and really drill in and dig into your wants and needs with a home. I want to show you real quick. This is just a couple of weeks ago, I screenshotted these. And I told you that this stuff happens every day right here in our backyard. And this is I could have probably 20 examples just like this from the last week. So this was a post that was put on a group, on a Facebook group that is a very, very large group. And it's just called the Women of Kansas City, very diverse group. And this gal, Emily, puts a post on there that says, our family is moving to KC soon. I'm super nervous. Anybody willing to chat with me about schools? Tons, hundreds of comments. And as I scrolled through them, I found comments like this one. This was a response that Emily made to somebody that was providing information. And she says, oh my gosh, this is so great to hear. We really only talked with the realtor and he said that the schools in Missouri were not good, but didn't give us a reason. You think that's a violation? How about this one, this comment? This is from a realtor that says, I've worked with many out-of-town buyers before and it's always so much fun. I would love to offer some insight on schools and best areas to live in. Leawood is obviously an awesome place to start. That's that agent's opinion. They have no idea what the buyer, what the client, customer would consider a good area, but they're immediately going to interject their opinion, and our opinions, they don't count in a real estate transaction. So here's another one. Same post from a real estate agent. Johnson County schools are awesome. Great area to raise a family. Blatant violations right here, blatant steering. I get that it looks like it's innocent. You're trying to swoop in and provide what's up here and provide knowledge to them and substantiate your value as a realtor, but there's other ways that you can do that. You've got to make sure that you're not interjecting your opinion and you're not steering them. These are 3 examples right here of steering. Again, this was, I think, last week that this post was on this group, and I kid you not, I could probably come up with 15 of these a day from what I see on social media. I know that we're butting up against our time together here, and I've covered 2, I think, really important topics to help you all with some risk mitigation. There are some things that we're going to discuss further in your sales meetings that will provide your brokers and managers with some policy information just from a company perspective that will help you. And then again, I'll provide all of these resources to you, both what TRACEY provided today, which was phenomenal, and then some of these additional resources that I've provided in the last half hour, some links to some of this stuff, and some ways that you can go in and research. A link to the class that I did, the full hour I did on fair housing, really an extension of what you've seen the last half hour. But we appreciate you all joining. David, are you still on? I see your name on there, but I know that you're muted.
I am.
You want to wrap us up here?
Christian, I think this has been phenomenal. I hope everybody you had to get something out of this. This was, both TRACEY and you have shared valuable information that we all need to follow. So I can't thank you enough for putting this on. TRACEY, great job if you're still on. And it's all stuff we need to follow. So thanks, Christian. I appreciate it.
You bet. And thank you all for joining. I mean it wholeheartedly when I say that we have the best agents in the marketplace. And it's things like this that we come together and can collaborate on that really help us extend that and extend our reach in the marketplace and our reputation in the marketplace. And I appreciate you all being here this morning, your support, and we will see you again very, very soon.
That's why we're all the best in this city.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.